Michael Hartzman and Scott Hartzman, I'm absolutely delighted for the opportunity to talk to both of you today. Michael, I'd like to start with you. You are the owner and president of Lebenthal Financial and one of the founding members of our Vistage Long Island Small Business Group. You've brought so much value to that group over the years through your perspectives, which I appreciate very much. And today, I'd love for you to share with our audience more about Lebenthal Financial, its history, its mission, and then I have a follow-up question.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and thanks for having the both of us on this evening. I appreciate that. So Lebenthal Financial, many of your listeners of a certain age might be familiar with the name. Lebenthal actually was founded close to 90 years ago. And back in the 70s and 80s is when they really made a name for themselves as being known as a municipal bond firm. About 10 years ago, Dominic Tavella and I had the opportunity to meet Alexandra and Jim Lebenthal. At the time, they were trying to basically resurrect the Lebenthal name. For whatever reason, that effort was abandoned, and we were approached by their past president about acquiring the Lebenthal name. And Dominic and I took the Lebenthal name because it had a great reputation. And while Dominic and I did a lot of things well, co-branding our partnership, quite frankly, was not one of them. So Dominic and I, who became partners about 20 years ago with the same vision of running a broker-dealer / registered investment advisory firm that does not have any minimums, that does not have any private label products, and just wanted to take care of the clients who entrust us with their dreams and their retirement and their goals for their families and their legacies.
Thank you, Michael. I love that story. Especially Lebenthal was a name that I knew, and you helped me fill out the history. So here's the follow-up. What led you to join my Vistage Small Business Group back in 2023? I think it was 3 years and 1 month ago.
So you called me, honestly, out of the clear blue sky, but we had a mutual friend who we were both at the time monthly guests on his radio show, I think back to back.
Yes.
1 week after the other. And I think that's how you came across my name. And I told you at the time, I belong to one other study group. I know Vistage is not a study group, it's a peer-to-peer group, but I was interested in becoming a part of it because I really enjoyed how you explained what Vistage was all about. And I enjoyed listening to how passionate you are about helping small business owners, really along their way, along their journey. And for me, I just enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy making new relationships. And quite frankly, Jeff, I'm hanging around financial advisors all the time. So for me to really spread my wings and to meet other people from other industries and get other perspectives is what really motivated me the most.
Thank you, Michael. And we talk quite a bit about the value of different perspectives. It's something we talk about in the group quite a bit. And that's one of the things that I'm hearing is just having those different perspectives, different industries, different companies was a new dimension of value for you. Sounds that
absolutely way. You and I do those one-on-one conversations usually 1 week after we get together as a group, and I always share with you that I love when we do the one-on-ones and we really focus on one person's issue. That's always my favorite part of the meeting, and to listen what other business owners are dealing with, and really what it boils down to, whether they own a manufacturing business or they own a financial services business or an alarm company. At the end of the day, Jeff, we all pretty much have the same stuff that we have to deal with.
Yep. A lot of people issues, a lot of market issues, a lot of customer issues. I really appreciate that perspective. Scott, you are an investment advisor and registered representative also of Lebenthal Financial. Tell us more about your role and responsibilities in the firm.
My role is ever changing, and thank you for having me, by the way, on this. So my role is ever changing with the firm, whether it's managing my own book of clients, investment advice, or doing operations in the company. So there'll be days where I'm opening new accounts for Michael's clients or one of the newest reps clients, my own clients, processing day-to-day requests, or just having one of my own clients call me and say, hey, I have a question about so-and-so stock. What do you think about it? And I'm able to give advice. Some days I'm dealing with the tech in the office because someone's email's not working. So I'm a jack of all trades. It depends on the day.
Yes. Thank you, Scott. Scott, you're a founding member, also a founding member, but of a different Vistage group I lead here on Long Island that's especially for C-suite executives. And we're going to come back to that in a minute. So hold on to your thoughts. Michael, since our very first conversations over 3 years ago, you often talked about the importance of developing and investing in your leaders. What led you to sponsor Scott for the Vistage Long Island, what we call Key Executive Group?
So like myself, Scott works at a small company. It's his view of the world is frequently me, Dominic, and the other 10 or 15 people he may deal with on a daily basis. So while Scott had other business experience when he was a younger man, I felt, just like for me, that it would be really important for Scott to meet other people, to meet other peers, and also to really expand his mind and get out of what could be just a myopic view of dealing with, the stock market on a day-to-day basis and the things that we worry about. Frequently, it's not what a manufacturer is worrying about, or it's not what a CPA is worrying about. So I felt it would give Scott a more rounded perspective and a more rounded view on how other people, view their day-to-day challenges.
Yeah, really well put, Michael. A lot of CEOs talk about the importance of investing in their people. You're actually doing it in a very specific, tangible, and meaningful way. Talk us through your thought process in encouraging Scott to consider this group.
Well, I think it's similar to what I just said, Jeff. I felt, look, there are a lot of networking groups on Long Island. I belong to one, and they're great. But it's all about just building your business. It's not about building your mind. It's not about expanding your horizons. It's not about, looking at the world from other people's perspectives. And I think that's what Vistage does. I mean, you made it crystal clear to me, because of what I do for a living especially. You said to me, I'd love to have you in a group. You just can't solicit anybody. And I said, I have no problem with that. Thank God I have plenty of business. And my commitment to you is I'm not going to solicit anyone. You've kept all the promises you've made. I kept all the one promise you asked me to make, I think I made. And really, the same thing goes for Scott. We are there to make lasting connections and friendships, not looking for the next IRA account.
Yeah, well put. I loved your statement. It's not just about expanding your business, it's about expanding your mind. That's a great perspective. I haven't heard it put quite like that, and I like that a lot.
Well, if Vistage is going to steal that, I'm going to need copyright.
Scott, let's turn to you. The Key Executive Group launched about 18 months ago. As I mentioned, you're also a founding member of that group, as Michael was of his group. You had no doubt heard Michael talk about his experiences in Vistage in the previous 18 months, his first 18 months being a member. And you, as I recall, you helped me a couple times when Michael was hosting in your conference room. You helped me set up the technology for a couple of those meetings, and we got to know each other a little bit. What led you to embrace Michael's sponsorship and to accept my invitation to join the group?
So when my dad first mentioned this to me, I was pretty, what's the word? Appreciative that he would think of me to join the group, because for me in my head, I've always just thought I'm the, guy working in operations, building my own book. And then, for my own dad to say, hey, I think this would be really really good for you to meet other people in different industries, meet other people that are more or less your age, that are also dealing with maybe similar issues that you are dealing with. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that you thought of me. So, he always mentions that he was meeting other people and he was getting their ideas. So I guess that roundabout way of me trying to say it, I embraced the way that Michael connected with all different people in the industry and thought that would be good for me. Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. And I'm also hearing a strong leadership and growth and learning.
Right. Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Scott, let's stick with you. I'd like to invite both you and Michael. I'm going to start with you. For the two of you to share what value you've received from your respective Vistage experiences. Two different groups, two different set of peers, but some commonalities in those experiences. Scott, let's start with you, and then we'll just go back and forth. What's one dimension of value that you've received from your experience?
One that I think of most recently is we did a project where you had us write down something we want to bring in the future to the table, and you brought us a rock. And I was like, what are you doing with a pebble? What are we going to do with a pebble? And you gave us a Sharpie, and you said, write something down that you want to, remember, that you want to bring to the table. And I remember I wrote down efficiency. And at the time, I was like, all right, this is a word that probably I'll use once in a while. And I didn't really think of it, but I kept it in the console of my car. And every day I look at it, and that has led me to bringing new efficiencies to the business, where I started coding new websites. I told my dad, I was like, hey, I just built, I think I'm up to 6 new websites that are some value to the firm that can make our firm more efficient. And I've been using those to the day-to-day business. And I would have never thought to even make these 6 websites if you didn't kind of rewire my thinking and saying, hey, what can you do in your business that's more efficient?
Yeah, I love that, Scott. You really, that rock served as a prompt over time. That was a significant focus for the fiscal year. How about you, Mike? Thank you, Scott. I love that image of your rock in your car. Yes. Michael, what's an example of the value that you've received from your group?
For me, I really do enjoy all the members that you brought into the group. I think you've done a great job in really creating this soup of all these different people. But what I really appreciate is the accountability you hold all of us. Mm. You very gently hold us all accountable, right? So when I'm driving to our monthly meeting, I know I'm going to be asked, how do I feel today? What am I going to try to get out of today? What is an issue that I need to try and process today? And it's important because it's the one day a month that I'm thinking about those things, not about the calls I have to return, right? Or some crazy thing in the market I now have to deal with, or any other minutia that comes up on a day-to-day basis. You allow me to step out of that, right? And just really literally go someplace else, which I truly appreciate.
Thank you, Michael.
You make us turn on a different part of our brain.
Huh, I love that, Scott. I love that. And how would you describe that part of your brain? What's the part of the brain that gets turned on, Scott?
Definitely the creative side.
Creative side? Okay.
Absolutely. Because you make me think, especially when I come in with something that I don't know what I want to solve that day. It's like, and then it comes to me and I was like, I didn't realize that was an issue that was on my mind. It was in the back. And you push it to the front. And now, of course, I'm thinking about it all week of how can I make that issue, solved.
Sure, sure. Well, I'm hearing in both of you the value of stepping away to work on the business rather than being exclusively caught up in the weeds.
Yes.
Michael, you mentioned something before we went on the air about the impact of the group being together over time, processing in some cases an individual's issue over multiple meetings, everyone having the opportunity to talk about developments in their own challenges and opportunities. Talk about the impact of that on you, sort of the continuity over time of the group.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Jeff, everyone who steps into that room is basically running a business or owns a business or is part of a legacy business, right? And everyone in that room is able to be vulnerable for that day. And there are two examples that I could think of where one was a founding member and one came right after we started the group. And they both had these really difficult issues every single month that just never seemed to go away, right? They just always seem to linger. And then we have another member in the group who has this one issue. It's not a terrible issue, but it's always hanging over his head. And I always appreciate when we get together, they're willing to share their experiences. They want that insight. Are they missing anything? Have they not thought of anything? They're always looking for the group to see if we are seeing something from 10,000 feet in the air that they can't see because they're right in the middle of the woods.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. What that brings up for me is that some challenges are solvable, in a month, and there are others where the fix has a much longer time frame, and the perspective that you and others in the group provide as a way of helping each member put one foot in front of the other, week after week, month after month, and really change the trajectory of the ship, if I can put it that way. One more thing for you, Scott. How would you describe the culture of your group?
Culture of my group. It's a great question. It's funny, when we first met 18 months ago, which it's hard to believe it's been that long, we were all shy, of course, very shy to each other. What can we share? What can we not share? And as we've gotten to know each other from the check-ins, especially the emails that go out, before our groups meet, you really get to see what issues people are facing that month. And then you could, if you're paying attention, you see, okay, that was an issue last month or the month before. And you really become a part of these people's lives without realizing it. They're like friends, but business friends. It's very interesting just how the web that we're all on, we're all somehow connected.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
And I'm hearing the value of relationships. And when you're, running a small business can be lonely, and simply being in a room with peers somehow makes that easier to navigate. Michael, I'm going to give you the last word. What advice would you give to others in your role?
In general?
In relation to Vistage.
Oh, in relation to Vistage?
Yes.
Be open-minded. Be willing to listen. Be willing to take advice. And just be willing to get as much out of what you offer as you possibly can. Because we didn't even talk about the guests that you bring to the meetings. We didn't talk about, the one-day meeting that Vistage in general puts together. So there's a lot of resources that you have that we didn't even discuss. But to me, the one main takeaway is just to be open-minded and go into the group looking for answers, not having all the answers.
That's great. I love that. Leave your ego at the door. I think you said it at another point.
I did.
Yeah. One of the key values of Vistage is confidentiality, of course. Scott, to start with you, what ground rules do you and Michael have that you follow when it comes to Vistage meetings?
It's funny when I was going to process my monthly the month that I was hosting, and I was trying to figure out what my issue should be. I remember asking you, Jeff. I was like, can I share this with my dad? Can I share what my issue is with him? And of course, you told me it's totally up to you. And then I asked my dad, are you comfortable if I share with you what my issue is? Because I wanted to be able to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
How the group works on solving it. And it was really informative once I got the information from the group and I was able to bring it back to my dad, all the different solutions that we thought of. But we really don't talk at all about each of our own groups. We maybe topical the sectors that people are in. But we really, it's funny, we live in the same household and we really don't talk about what we're doing in each other's groups.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Michael, anything that you would add?
Well, no, I think he said it perfectly, because you and I joke about that, because I never even ask you how Scott is doing. It's his group, it's his network, and it's his relationship with you, Jeff. So I agree with Scott. We don't really go that deep into each other's groups, other than maybe I may say to him, I like this person, I like that person, I'm really happy I met, this person I never would have met. But we really keep it, he's not wrong, we keep it very superficial.
Yeah. No, that's, you're honoring the confidentiality, even in the privacy of your home. I love you. I love that. Michael, in closing, in addition to the honor of serving as your Vistage chair, outside of our Vistage group meetings and our one-to-one private executive coaching, you and I, along with your partner, Dominic Tavella, get together once per quarter for a conversation. It's one of my favorite parts of the quarter. What would you like to share with our audience about the Lebenthal Report podcast that we share in?
It was very kind of you, Jeff, to bring it up. So Dominic and I started our podcast in the middle of the pandemic, realizing that we needed to come up with a way to communicate with our clients, especially if we could not see them. And we've been doing it now for 4 years. And basically, Dominic and I, once a week, do an hour podcast. We have various guests. As you said, you have a regular spot 4 times a year to talk about the Vistage, what is it, the Small Business Consumer Confidence Index?
Yeah, the CEO Confidence Index, yes.
Which is valuable insight. And basically, what Dominic and I talk about mostly is just the market, and what we like to bring weekly is not only our views of what's going on, but the views of other experts. Because as you know, in financial services, the news changes quickly. If you don't like the headline, come back in 15 minutes.
It's a stimulating conversation. You and Dominic keep me on my toes. You're always drawing out important insights from that quarterly report that Vistage has been providing for over 20 years. So it's a real privilege to be on your show.
And we appreciate you sharing that very valuable Vistage information, and we thank Vistage for allowing you to do that.
Yes. Thank you, Michael. Michael Hartzman, Scott Hartzman, both of Lebenthal Financial. Michael, a member of my Long Island small business group, primarily owners and CEOs of smaller companies. Scott Hartzman, a member of our key executive group. These are C-suite executives from a variety of different roles, each different Vistage groups, each getting different value. Just want to appreciate your openness in sharing today and all that you shared with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.